Andiamo, dai. It's working. All right. I will try not to ruffle papers. Oh, Harlem King. Hello, sir. How are you? The most dapper dressed gentleman at our last meetup. That guy has impeccable style. Yes. Okay, so I guess I should do this then. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm joined once again by a rather prestigious panel. Panel. Look at this. We've got Russell, the Mad Watch Collector. Hello, sir. How are you?
Absolute pleasure to be here again. I'm glad I've been let in again.
And then we have an old friend from early days. Duncan, how are you?
Good, very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
And I notice you're wearing the. That was definitely from the film, right?
This is a bit of N. Peel love from No Time to Die.
Lovely,
yes. Yeah.
Lovely. And I should say you're from Valverde Broadcasting, which is absolutely. And then of course we have D, hobby of ours.
What is up, gentlemen? I have been looking forward to this like you cannot believe.
Nice.
This is gonna be. It's so epic, and I don't know if anyone's caught Duncan's most recent. I think it's your most recent release where you were talking about the Amazon acquisition. Yes. Excellent video, loved it. Required viewing, brilliant work, sir. Very pleased to meet you.
Good. Oh, is this the first time you met each other?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So I've totally forgotten what we're doing. Oh yes. I should have printed out the notes. Yeah. Let's start with the wristwatch check then, shall we, Russell?
Well, pleasure to be here. I am wearing a watch that you can't buy right now. It's a CWC, and it's the TI 300. It's their first titanium Royal Navy diver.
Oh wow!
Oh, and it is absolute. It's almost as if this was made for this material. Look at it.
Yeah,
look at this.
I didn't know they did a titanium watch.
Just started. Pre-orders are coming in very soon, and I absolutely love it. It's got a Swiss Ronda in it. It is not cheap. It's not a cheap watch. CWCs tend not to be cheap these days, but look at it. Look how it shines.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't shine at all. It's titanium, but look how it glows.
Very mil spec kind of Omega.
Absolutely.
Mid-century, very classic. Yeah, very Bondian, of course.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bless you, Duncan.
Bless you, Duncan.
Thank you. Sorry, did that come through? I tried to mute it.
No. You were muted, brother.
We just needed to guess what the sound was like.
Yeah,
that was good.
We can foley it in later. What are you wearing, sir?
Me? Well, I have brought some Bond watches and some Bond adjacent watches as well. But today I'm wearing Batman, Batgirl-ing a bit BLNR.
Nice.
BLNR ring.
Very nice.
Yes.
Wow. Duncan.
And it's actually set, the bezel's set to New York time.
I was going to say, look at that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done.
Bit of that action.
Nice. Oh, and by the way, we should say we'll do the what is it, ultra chats or whatever it is at the end. A few people last time.
Super
say ultra chats. You mean super chats? I prefer ultra chats.
Ultra
because that means you must pay more. Come on.
Yeah,
right. A watch or something.
Yeah.
The super duper chats.
The super duper. Last time, I think some people got annoyed because we kind of not ignored, but it's just that I didn't want to be rude to the guests, and I want to give them my full attention. But we'll get to the Uber super chats later.
Uber super duper.
Yeah. D, what are you wearing, sir?
I have got a pair of things on deck. I've got the Brosnan era wave dial GMT, which I believe is the proper one for Bond of the era, Pierce. But you're the reason I bought it, which is why I also bought it. Yeah, I caught you years ago. You did a review where you were trying to get one. I was like, dang, that is a beautiful watch. But my primary on wrist is my Tudor FXD LHD MOD by D and Friends on.
So I'm the chief of the NDC. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Proper beautiful dive watch, proper dive strap, and actually, this not this particular example, but issued to the Marine Nationale, and I had it swapped to left-hand drive. Shout out to that team. And I know, Jacko, you totally need one of these. I know you love left-hand drive watches. And
he does, right? Yeah, shout out to Jacko. I'm sure he's. Oh yeah, I can already see him. There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
But I'm gonna put you on center stage so we can catch your wrist check, and then I have a joke to kick off the stream once we're ready for that.
I'm wearing the aerospace actually on the rubber, the waffle from Riscani Watch Club. I can't take this thing off. It wakes me up in the morning. I jog with it. I got, you got multiple time zones. You got everything you need in one watch. It's
absolutely love. You've got the compass on there, T. I love that.
Yeah, the Ghost Dog. Thank you. I adore that film. Yeah, it's a good one. Duncan, are you familiar with Ghost Dog?
I am, although I saw it in cinema, believe it or not, and I would have been about 14, 15. I'm barely old enough to see it, and loved it. Yeah, loved it. Really.
There's a lot going on in that film about identity and about it's a multi-layered masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, we could talk about that all day. So I've forgotten the order of the questions. D, do you remember?
I do, but you actually won't have to remember because the way I've built the presentation, it's going to lead everyone through. So anything we can do to keep you and the paper, to keep your paperwork away from the microphone. I know the viewership.
Yeah. Should I get it out of the way first?
I need one of the buzzers. I need ability to I need like a paper mute. But before we dive in, I wanted to start off with a little joke to set the tone, to set the mood.
Please.
Knock, knock.
Oh, God. Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes who?
This is Sean Connery. Open the door and let me
in. Very good. Actually, that was pretty good.
There is your Bond joke, gentlemen.
Talking of jokes, I really want to hear Duncan Casey do Bond quotes in his Arnie voice. I think that would be... I think that would be just... Yeah.
I mean, that's True Lies, isn't it? That's just basically...
Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
His main invitation. That's one of my
So if anyone wants to write things, questions, actually, we should have you read the Uber chats in
that's brilliant.
Arnie.
Voice of your choice. Well, do you remember I did the Sean Connery for your Sean Connery?
Yes. You did,
but the old cantankerous Sean Connery, which is my
right.
rock era. I'm only borrowing your Humvee.
That sounds like the rock version, which
that's what I mean. Yeah,
my favorite.
Yeah. 90s Sean Connery, cantankerous.
Yeah,
annoyed that he's there.
As perfectly demonstrated in the scenes cut out for The Rock, where he's swearing at the elevator.
Yes, I won't repeat that, but that's joyous.
Guys, don't look it up now because you'll leave the stream. But Google, YouTube, is it like it's bloopers, isn't it? It's
it's like outtakes.
It's fantastic. Anyway,
absolutely,
right,
brilliant.
D, take it away.
All right, so for the wonderful gentry out there, each of us has been assigned a Bond to cover or defend, and we're going to talk about the villains related, the watches related, the Bond girls, any gadgetry, any favorite scenes. And so obviously we've got 4 Bonds here. At the end, if we have time permitting, we also have a couple presentations about Dalton and Lazenby if we get to it. But for now, we're going to proceed in order from the very earliest. Dr. No-No, which is his name when he gets pulled into HR, is up first. And here we have Mr. Connery himself to be covered, illustrated, eviscerated by Tristano. So the kickoff question is, what did he bring to the role that was special and made him compelling? And then what would you like to see in a new franchise that he did so well?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, for me, Connery was the first Bond I ever saw. And I think that and being the first Bond, he kind of shaped the role, and everybody's inevitably going to be compared to him. but physically, I think he was quite imposing. He was a former bodybuilder, and I think because of his quite humble roots, to put it politely, he's a tough guy, you know. And I think it comes real tough guys. They don't have to be tough, you know. Like they it's just there, and you sense it. So he has that ability to be physically imposing, to bring that physicality, but also be suave and charming. And there's also, because of his Scottishness, there's for lack of a better expression, there's a foreignness to the Englishness of Ian Fleming, who, if you've ever heard him speak, he has that cut glass British accent, English RP accent. But I think Connery brought something a little bit different, and it makes sense that he. I think Fleming even changed his background to make him slightly more different. And I've discussed this actually in my Vertex review about what is Britishness, much to the annoyance of some people. But I had to do it because I think it is relevant. What is it to be British? It's an amalgamation of so many different things. And I think that he brought that and also like just physically, you know, like the way he moves, that he has that X factor, that ineffable charisma that just, you know, is so compelling. You can't, even if you just watched him smoke a cigarette like you did in his opening famous scene, you know, where he says his name, it's just so memorable, and he just, you know, it's difficult to ever compare to that, in my opinion. Sorry, I think I went on a bit of a rant there, but does that sum it up?
Well summed, yes, indeed.
Okay.
That is well. So, what would you like to see in the upcoming franchise? Like, what would you want to see that he maybe set the stage for something in the new franchise?
Right. Yeah. Has anyone seen that the man who would be Bond, but the origin story of Fleming himself? Is it very... Duncan? Did you see that?
That's with what's the actor's
Dominic
name?
something or
Dominic,
other.
Yeah. No. I set that up. No, I didn't. But it crossed my radar.
Right. I highly recommend it. It angered quite a few Bond purists because it did take liberties, but I really enjoyed it. And what it made me realize was I'd love to see instead of going forward, because it's so problematic. Everyone has cell phones these days. It's so convoluted. I would rather see a period piece of someone doing, you know, like in the height of the Cold War, you know, old technology, old wiretapping, the old ways. And I think that that took place in the Second World War, because it was about Fleming's own espionage activities during against the Germans. So I think something post-war, Cold War would just be absolute, kind of like what that failed attempt at doing the Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Cavill. It's not bad, but it just lacked that special, you know, if you get
that film's biggest crime was its pacing. I think if you sorted out the pacing of that film, you'd have a much better movie, because it just drags in the middle. Second act issues. I think I suppose the problem you've got with period set Bond films, like people say, is product placement. So you couldn't put Sony Vaio laptops in.
That's true, but I think that's we'll get into. I've written it into my notes actually about Brosnan. That stuff took me out of the picture. You know, and I think with so many vintage inspired watches, or just get sourced, you know, source the originals. You know, anyway, we could get into that. I see what you're saying, though. That is, but I don't know. I just think that era is more Bondian and more interesting. Anyway, D, what's next? Oh, there we go.
Watch talk. Some sincere watch talk. What is your favorite scene with a watch? What did you like or dislike about it? And then what is an alternative watch not in use in the franchise, whether the watch or the brand, that you would like to see Bond put on his wrist?
Right. Wow. Okay. So the opening of Goldfinger, I'm pretty sure was it before the actual title sequence?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Right. Thank you, Duncan. So I think it's immortalized in celluloid forever. The versatility of the Submariner, it's made it an icon. It's changed the way Rolex themselves marketed. I have you can't see it there, but I have up there somewhere, I have the Bondian inspired advertising from afterwards, and it just changed the whole way Rolex marketed. And seeing a watch being used as a timing device during an operation, as a diver, he wore it over the sleeve, then he took it off to reveal the tux. It's just I've homaged it in a million different videos. I will never tire of talking about it. It's so ingrained in watch. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just the perfect moment, and nothing to me will ever overshadow that. And the Submariner, let's be honest, it's the only watch that's been worn by 4 different Bonds. Various versions. The 6538. I'm pretty sure it's the 2-liner, not the 4-liner, which kind of echoes in the 5513 later. The nonchalance of that strap, being undersized. I don't know if that was deliberate or he just doesn't give an F, and I kind of like that because it fits it's that Connery thing. Going back to what I was saying earlier, he's just, the whole way he walks into that room, he's kind of looking at is she a belly dancer? I'm pretty sure she's a belly dancer, and he has this expression like he just doesn't care, and then he looks at his watch, kaboom, It's like the Big Bang for the Submariner. It was the moment of creation. It was it's just amazing. So, and going back to period pieces, I think of Vertex, tying into what I said earlier, Swiss made, which a lot of people took issue with. Oh, will I have a British watch? Well, if you look at the very early trench watches, they were Swiss made too. And that goes into my whole thesis about Britishness, about taking inspiration and things from other cultures, mixing it up, trying to get the best out of it. So the Vertex for me would be the choice, and I think Don Cochran is a wonderful guy, and I think he's trying. Russell, him. Yeah, he's staying true to his brand's identity, and actually, thinking about it, I should have put the C line in now for a diver. But I don't know, the 36mm Vertex does it for me. Field watch, yeah, I could see him being issued that. Anyway, done. I'm done. Let's move on. Any thoughts?
We can stay here if you weren't ready for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just a sidebar. I met Don in New York City at the meetup.
Nice.
Fabulous guy. He was so cool.
That's when we first met, right?
Well, we met in Moyer Fine Jewelers.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's true.
But then we had some hang time and some chat time at the wind up post meeting with Vertex, and his team was amazing.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah, looking at next, you're in, do whatever order you like. Your favorite villain, favorite Bond girl, and your favorite other performance by your actor. So we've got quite a few things there.
Yeah, I'll rush through it. I forget the actor's name, but Stromberg, the villain in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Hans Jürgens, is it? What's
right. He has a pretty cool Wikipedia. He actually got put in a prison camp, I think in the early part of the war, for starting a fight with a couple of Nazis, which automatically gains my respect there. So he's an interesting guy. But of course, then he played a neo-Nazi villain in Lethal Weapon 2, was it? South African...
Kurt Jürgens.
Yeah.
No. Was he in Lethal Weapon 2?
Yeah.
No, you're thinking of Joss Ackland, darling.
Am I? Oh, so sorry.
Similar.
Oh,
Joss
okay.
Ackland was, just
definitely remember Patsy Kensit. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely remember.
Okay, fair enough. I'm wrong there. But he's an interesting guy. I just love, actually, I have the book, Leia, which is...
Love that book.
D, can you go back to me a second, please?
Uno momento, por favor.
Yeah, this is an amazing book, and actually, there you are. It's on the cover. The
underwater base.
Yeah, the underwater base. I love how it starts in that Renaissance frescoes, and you think you're in some kind of, villa or something in Tuscany, and then the screens come up and it reveals you're actually underwater, and I was just like, yeah, I want that. The webbed hands, okay, fine. Maybe I'd have those surgically removed if I was him, but I just, that layer, just absolutely love it. I want to live there.
The funniest thing about your villain is that he is constantly eating on screen. He's shoveling those pistachios down. He's got lobster. He's like having people killed while he's trying to dig through a lobster and complaining about it. Absolutely hilarious.
He dies on a plate of oysters, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not a bad way to go. That's a nice existence, having your enemies killed like that and then just eating with the Renaissance art all around you. Anyway, yeah. Halle Berry. What can I say? I found out that swimming costume was inspired actually by Ursula Andress, by her scene when she came out of the water in Dr. No. So they wanted to do a modern,
right on,
modern update. She's strong, she's capable, she's definitely my type. What's not to love? I actually saw this just before I met my wife, so I can, in Florence while I was living in Italy, actually, funny enough. I was just be ingrained in my mind forever. So there we go. I mean, what's not to love? Need I say more?
Jinxie has approved your commentary.
Nice.
And then your film's up top?
Yeah, The Russia House. Really, if anyone's seen it, have you seen it, Duncan?
Yes, a long time ago, but yes.
It's a very nice kind of companion piece to Bond, because he's playing a spy, but in such a different way, and it's a love affair, but not in a. It's just very realistic and nuanced and subtle, and you see this other side of Connery, and I felt like, because I think by the fourth one, and this obviously Goldfinger's my favorite. But I think by the fourth or fifth, or you could tell that he had a palpable sense of not wanting to do it, and I picked these movies. The Rock, he's just having fun. Time Bandits, he's like a surrogate father, still kind of playing on that Bondian trope, but because he was a kind of a father for a lot of people through Bond, strangely. And then The Man Who Would Be King, Rudyard Kipling adaptation with Michael Caine. Amazing film. There's just too many Sean Connery performances. He's quite underrated, actually, I think, when he really gets his acting. Untouchables, I mean, worst Irish accent ever, but...
I think you
Highlander's the worst Spanish accent ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on. Let's have somebody else now. Come on, because
before we come off Connery, can I throw in a watch?
Fun fact, sir.
Yes.
I brought some Bond watches with me, and I don't want to derail things here.
No, please.
There's the Connery Rolex that isn't often talked about because it's very, very briefly seen. Did you know what? There's the Gruen as well, which I did have one of until recently. But it's one of these. This is a date just. Do you know which film that's in? That he's wearing a date just in?
No.
Thunderball. So there's a scene in Thunderball where he's in a helicopter looking out the window with some binoculars.
Right.
And it's a flipped shot for some reason, probably for continuity, because the watch is on his right wrist, but obviously with the crown still facing up. And it's a date just with, I think, either a dark blue or black dial on an oyster bracelet. It's very, very
interesting.
Yeah, you can see it online. You can find pictures.
Was that that must have been his watch then?
Probably. That's probably I've just got this on today. I'll just whatever.
That is a good watch movie because you got the Navi time as well as part of the plot device.
And the bright.
Top Time.
Top Time.
Yeah. Good choice. Fun facts. I can't even remember what I wrote in my notes. Duncan, have you? Yeah,
I have a fun fact.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. My favorite, I think one of my more favorite films of his era was the one where it was the crossover with Star Trek.
A crossover with Star Trek.
Yeah, when he went to Japan, but they dressed him up as Spock to try to to try to sneak him into that Japanese village. And he was so upset at his wife options coming up the steps. You could just see him grimacing. Oh, this is who I'm like. Bond, you're not actually marrying her. It's just your cover. So that's my fun fact. It was an excellent crossover with Star Trek.
Yeah, I think that's when he started not to want to do it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually that press tour because he was barraged. I mean, Duncan, you probably know better than I.
Yeah, so I think the final straw was a first press photographer taking pictures of him over the top of a toilet stall. I think was his. That's it. I'm out. I'm done. I can't even take a dump in peace. This is it. When you interrupt a Scotsman in his ablutions, that's when you know.
Yeah. Jeez. And yeah, was that a Japanese?
It was. Yes. Well, I believe so. Yeah.
Because they do like their clandestine pornographic photography.
Pixelated, of course. For dignity, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I read a
There's
really
not enough pixels.
If I
It's
could
a
do
1960s pixels, you can see everything.
if I could do that voice, Duncan, it's the only way I would speak. I would show up for job reviews completely.
It's not because there's no such thing as pixels in 1960 whatever, so it's scan lines. It's deeply unflattering. That's old Connery though. It should be more like yes.
Yeah. Do Bond, Connery. I want to hear that. What is the difference? It's just
yes, it's more of that, isn't it? It's more of the whole Bond, James Bond. The thing in Doctor No, that's a call and answer thing because it's Sylvia Trench says it first. Right. She says Trench, Sylvia Trench. And I think the idea is he sort of mockingly says it back to her. It's like Bond, James Bond, and it's kind of like. But then it became. I mean, I know in the books I'm working my way through the novels again at the moment.
Oh, really?
He does say it that way, but it's kind of in the film. It's implied that he did it as a kind of call and response thing.
Yeah. Oh, I just remember my fun fact. Apparently, he got into a fight with a Scottish bunch of gangsters, like a gang or something, and he beat them all up in a pub, and after that they left him alone, but they had a kind of profound respect for him. So he's like a proper tough guy.
I heard it was someone else. I heard it was one of the ladies on. I can't remember the name of the film now. It wasn't maybe it was Marnie. I can't remember. It's one of the ones he was doing, and the girl he was playing opposite. Someone leaked a rumor that he and her were having a fling.
Right.
Her boyfriend was a mob guy, but he was like Chicago mob or something. Okay. And he came to set, pulled a gun, and Connery took it off him and punched him in the face. Huh. That's what I heard.
Nice. Good for him.
Yeah. Just punching mobsters. Day in the life. There you go. Yeah.
Russell, take it away, man. I want to hear this.
I mean, listen, there's so much trivia already going on, so many facts and everything. Yeah. I'm going to talk from a impressionable kid that I was growing up in the 80s.
I expect nothing else.
Yes, mate. So, I mean, Roger Moore for me, the suave, the character, the cheekiness, the fact that he was the same. He was similar emotions to when he was making love to when he was killing someone. In actual fact, there was no emotion, and that kind of person is a scary dude.
Right.
For me, it was the quintessential Englishman of the time. To be honest, I mean, if anyone thought of who's an Englishman in the 70s and 80s, it would be Roger Moore, James Bond. For me, massively impressionable with the gadgets, the amount of gadgets. It was all about the gadgets for me with James Bond, with his relationship to Q, which was very funny. And yeah, I mean, his one-liners were just fantastic. And he just left a massive mark on me, not only wanting a watch when I was a kid, but just the way to behave, the respectfulness that he had. But like I said, he was not emotional in any way, shape, or form to anything. Really, if I can remember it, I was just thinking about every single movie. What does taint him is he went on too long. We all know this. He went on too long. He was 58.
Yeah,
he was 58, but they didn't have anyone else. You can't blame Roger. You know, I mean, they just kept giving him these roles, for God's sake. I mean, I don't know if I'm correct, Duncan, because I am not into the massive facts, but I know that Fleming wanted him a long way before 74, but I read somewhere that he was the original choice for James Bond.
Fleming, I think, envisaged Hoagie Carmichael, who was a singer, or failing that, David Niven, who was a relative, as was Christopher Lee, of course, who went and played Scaramanga. But I think, there was that slightly rakish, roundabout town, cad type look to, which Roger I think feels more in spirit than in style. But I think, but I mean, I would say that I think Roger's tenure carried on a bit longer. Don't forget, you had reinventions throughout. Like Spy Who Loved Me was a reinvention. Then you got to For Your Eyes Only was a big trying to retread, and then things like Octopussy obviously came in the year of the Battle of the Bonds with Never Say Never Again. So there was a thing of we can't go and change now. Was it James Brolin? You can find his audition tape, and he was cast, I think, basically. Wow. And then it was like, we can't do this because we're up against another one. So it kind of, he just had a lot of, he tripped into more, I think, Roger.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was growing up, it was the fact that he suddenly had almost a Wolf PPK that had a laser shooting out of it in Moonraker. That was when I think, is this real, Mum? I mean, can they actually do this? As soon as they go in space, it's all about lasers. But as I said, I loved his one-liners, and I know that Sean Connery had that, and I appreciate Sean Connery for his rough and readiness. He didn't give a two whatsits, and I know that, and I know Sean could look after himself. I think Roger could look after himself diplomatically first, and then he could turn on the sort of the noises that he makes, and the one punches and then off. But for me, it was It was a massive time for electronics. What was it? The integrated circuit had started so many things. You could make little things go in tiny boxes electronically and everything else. And it was just the 70s, man. It was like, woof. Here we go, electronics. It was incredible. And we'll talk about some of his fantastic gadgets and watches later. But that was for me. I mean, I felt back in the day that when I was watching it, I felt that the Sean Connery Bonds just looked too old. The film looked too old, and I couldn't quite, it was too far away from the present time that I was watching it in. And so I felt like, this is the old movie. It's not until I was older that I appreciated the films a lot. But Roger just hit the nerve with me. With my mum loved Roger. We watched a lot of The Saint, that Simon Templar that my mum liked watching, which was basically Bond. Simon Templar was Bond. Let's face it, he was just a more nimble Bond. By the time he got to Bond, I think it was 46. I think it's the oldest Bond to have debuted as a Bond, as 46. I mean, if only he did it a little bit younger. I think he had just too much loyalties to the Saint project. I think it was director Duncan and everything else. I don't know if you know that, but he had commitments, I guess. He had done, I think he'd played James Bond on, was it not the Tracy Ullman, was it the Tracy Ullman show? He did something in the 60s.
So he did
in the
a
60s.
As James Bond, yes, but apart from that,
I have to say that Live and Let Die is one of the best introductions of of a new Bond. I know Casino Royale is actually, I have a list of all the Bond movies ranked on IMDb, and Casino Royale is at interesting number one. I'll share it in a moment, but Live and Let Die was so strong. I rewatched it recently with my wife again, and everything, the music, the way. Because thinking about it, I get what they were doing. They wanted to implement black exploitation cinema into it, and it could have gone so wrong. But they did it with the music just subtly, and I love how that contrast of his stiff upper lip Britishness arriving in New York, and then you have these gangsters and the difference in style of clothing. There was he was just Roger Moore. I'm going to do my thing, and it just absolutely worked. Yaphet Koko. I can never say his name.
Yaphet Kotto.
Thank you very much. Was amazing as a villain.
Mr. Big.
Yeah, Mr. Big. That was it. Yeah.
Have you read the novel?
Yes, that one. Yes.
So I mean, the blaxploitation stuff is tame by comparison. I think it was probably a way in to tell that story without leaning into the novel too much.
I think the good thing is they used a fake country, didn't they? Duncan in San Monique.
Yeah, San Monique, yes.
San Monique.
Yeah.
Which was a good way of
a bit like Valverde.
Yeah,
there we go.
Great segue, fantastic segue, excellent. Valverde Broadcasting, yes, great.
Pierce
there,
I saw a thing recently where he was on one of the late night talk shows, and he was talking. It's when Robin Williams died, so it was a long time ago.
Right.
But he did that thing, and he sort of did an impression of Robin Williams doing Mrs. Doubtfire, which is a weird Venn diagram of voices. And he was like, "Oh, Pierce, spank me, Pierce." And it was just weird. It was just like Pierce Brosnan doing Mrs. Doubtfire. Anyway, go look it up.
Yeah. Duncan, do you slip into like bonds when like talking to your wife or just doing normal things? Does that happen?
She wouldn't know what I was talking. I do try, but it's
you try
blank expressions.
Right. Because if I could do that, I'd be doing it all. I'd just go to the bank, get money out, and just be like, doing that.
I don't know his PIN number or his mother's maiden name. Otherwise, I would.
Right. No, sorry, Russell.
That's all good. I haven't got too much. I think the second bit is what would you like to see in the new franchise?
Yeah,
I would love to see gadgets that are not that you don't need Wi-Fi for. I mean, I would like to see some good old sort of gadgetry. Yeah, good old just innovative designed gadgets. To get out of situations like gadgets. Like collar darts, or or a submarine that looks like a crocodile. Those sorts of things. Well, something else, like maybe a manatee or something. But that's the thing. Also, with Live and Let Die, I think the score was done by George. What's his name? Crikey, the Beatles guy. I forgot his name.
Paul McCartney.
Wings.
But George Martin did the score for Live and Let Die, and he also helped make Live and Let Die the song, and that's my favorite songwriter. And it's that song is just I just put that in the car. If I want to get into something, I want to get going. I will smack that song on. I just love it, and that score throughout that film is just magic.
Yeah. John Barry as well. I think in the Moonraker score is amazing as well. Very bombastic and epic, and
it's something scores what I'll get into when I talk about
it.
It's something you can tell the ones where the composer helped write the theme song,
right?
Because it's woven in, and
those are the best ones, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Russell, tell us about your watch choices.
Well, obviously, CWC was the Cabot watch company that superseded the Rolex Milsub in 1980. And CWC had been making watches for the British military since 1972. This was because Hamilton stopped the contracts with the military, and also the Smiths were also a company that issued watches, but they just gone out of business, unfortunately. And a guy called Ray Mellor, who used to work for Hamilton, left Hamilton, could read the writing on the wall, and then he came up with his own company, this Cabot watch company, and basically they made watches exclusively for the British military. The CWC is the only contract they didn't have towards the end in the 1980 was the Royal Navy diver. That was still the Rolex Milsub But unfortunately, I think because Rolex were a little bit pricey coming into the 80s, the Ministry of Defence came out of that contract, and then CWC had it. My view is from the 80s, surely James Bond should be wearing a CWC, as he is a former Royal Navy man, and that's my views on it. Anyway, I think that would be fantastic. The only problem is with CWCs is they are a fixed spring bars. That's the only thing. But listen, that's nothing that Q can't sort out. He could have sorted that out, couldn't he? You know.
There's a CWC in Mission Impossible Fallout. It's a stopwatch.
Yes, stopwatch.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
In actual fact, I was told, sorry mate, I was told that the new Jurassic World, I mean, I'm not massively into dinosaurs, but CWC were asked to give a load of watches for that movie. So the next Jurassic World movie, Scarlett Johansson and all those people are going to have CWCs. Just watch this space.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's quite
I have
cool.
to look into
Sorry
that.
mate, I interrupted you.
No, carry on.
Anyway, I'm actually got a reissue of that watch. Come on, boy, come on. There he is.
Nice.
So basically, it looks a little bit like an Omega from the 60s because Omega pretty much copied the spec and design that the Ministry of Defence gave them. So it is very similar. And this case was used a lot from Tag Heuer and Chronosport, the like. But yeah,
that's where
anyway.
I recognize that from there.
Great
First watch.
Really great observation. Yeah, I never noticed that until now.
What do you like, dislike? What does that mean, Dunk? What does that mean? What did you like
of the watch? That, we were talking. We got the buzzsaw and the magnetic thing. What did you like about this watch?
This was the reason. I mean, I know, Duncan, you showed me you had one, mate. But my thoughts were never see your idols, because when I had that watch, this was the watch that I absolutely loved and I wanted to own, but had it in my hands, and then it was just too light and delicate for my 2025 life, 2024 life. But it's absolutely gorgeous. That was the one.
I saw your video. No, hang on. I saw your. Hang on, right?
Hang on.
Let's talk that back. Okay. Here we are. Yeah. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah, no, I saw your video. Your excellent, by the way, video on the 5513. But you had one, wasn't it on a Jubilee?
It was. Right? It was a US issued.
Right. Okay.
Watch.
Yes.
That's the reason why I found out. Not quite as. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm more talking about the case and the acrylic glass and the fact that the beats per hour is 18,000 something beats per hour.
I mean, if you look at this one, it's ticking. I think it's just started ticking on its own. So I haven't wound it.
It's not even hackable, is it? Which
it is.
It is. Yours is.
Yeah.
This is an 80s one though, so this has no provenance to it whatsoever. So Rolex have been through this with a fine tooth comb and redialed it. And
right.
You know, it still glows. It's totally wrong.
Yeah, the one I was going to buy, I was kind of a little bit disappointed. I didn't know that the early calibers weren't hackable, and I was just thinking for a military watch, that's a bit, Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's a big bezel fan as well. You've got a friction bezel on there, and I just wanted the looks of the 5513, but in a bit more modern, which is why I'm sort of lusting after a 14060 just before it's got maxi and everything else. Brilliant with the two lines at the bottom, nothing's still aluminium bezel and everything like that. That's the first watch I can recollect me wanting watches. Definitely seeing that when he twists the bezel and the indices turn red, which is very not what you should be doing with a watch, making it into a magnet. It's quite if you know your watches. I don't particularly. I mean,
did you see that came up for auction? The one from the film?
I did. Yes.
And it's totally like unwearable.
Yeah, it's not used. It's the same as the buzzsaw, like Darren said. So yeah, I mean, when he cuts through the ropes. With that watch, it's just like, wow, that is amazing. I mean, it's all right when he does that. When he does that, he's got to watch out. Wow, I mean, it just like blooming heck, he can do all that with a watch, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
That's what made me love it. For me, the villain that almost gave me nightmares when I first saw him, because he wasn't particularly nice as he was in Moonrake at the end.
Right.
And that was quite good for me. But it was Jaws. I mean, I was a little bit obsessed with him as a kid. I did actually think to myself, where does he live? I wonder what he eats. And I wonder if he is quite nice in his normal day-to-day life. But he's, because I'm a massive Cannonball Run fan as well, and he was in I think it was a Mitsubishi car. It was really cool. He was a bit more personal in Cannonball Run, and I think Roger Moore's in Cannonball Run as well.
Yep.
I think he is as well. But I don't think I had ever seen a big man like that before. And what he did with his with the cable and the cable cars, it's just a very. I had never seen a villain like that before. You know, with James Bond, you always see Odd Job, or you've seen people that are sort of human-like. But I just felt like he was this superhuman dude. And I was glad he had a nice ending for him at the end of Moonraker.
Speaking of that, him and his girlfriend are on the inset, and it's she does not have braces in the film. But it's a Mandela effect where people think she did, and she actually should. She absolutely should. But Noctua Watch just asked that question.
It's that shot of her smiling at him, I think, that gives people that impression. But Dolly is the character's name, which is one of those. I often have this problem, right, when I'm casting something and they give my character a name, but the name isn't said on screen. I'm like, I don't want to be in the credits because someone might look at that and go, he's really great. Who did he play? My friend Ian Peary, I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to the Brosnan era, but he's in Die Another Day. And he plays a character called Creep, but you would never know that because no one ever told him that. Yes, but there you are. No.
Cool. Can you just remind me? I haven't seen Moonraker in a while. I love Moonraker, by the way. But what causes him to switch sides? Does Drax kind of betray him or something?
Drax.
Sorry. So Duncan, you do it because I'm just trying to. I know there's something to do with Dolly as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically Drax's whole thing is eugenics, right? So his whole thing is he takes the fittest and the finest, but of course Dolly is diminutive.
And he's Jaws way too big.
So he's saying, Jaws, you obey me, because he wants him to throw Bond out the airlock. But Bond's just said,
right.
Kill, only the fittest will survive. And it's kind of like, and he does
because essentially they're freakish in their ways and not conducive. Well, not in keeping with his eugenic doctrine. Yeah, that's what I thought. That makes sense. Sorry. Yeah,
that's cool. Bond girl. I mean, Solitaire. 100% Solitaire. The only reason why I bring up Maud Adams is because she played Octopussy, and for me it was the first time there was a strong woman leader. I don't know if there's another strong woman leader in James Bond before that, Duncan. I don't know, but it was the first time obviously there is strong women, definitely, with Pussy Galore and everything else.
Flying, what were they called? Her flying squadron.
Yeah. I mean, she was just the boss of a lot. Do you know what I mean? And it's the other thing is she plays, I don't know what you know, Duncan, but she plays Scaramanga's girlfriend.
Yes,
So she plays two characters in two different Bonds, which is quite weird.
Oh, I never knew.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know what they're watching. Are they watching sumo wrestling?
They do watch Shimura. She gets
and she's sitting there, and then he pulls the blouse a bit, and there's a bullet wound. And it just puts come now, darling, and he puts that down. But I think he was emotionally quite tied to this woman. Yeah. And then she was shot, and then it's all over. It's just like he didn't really show much emotion. Roger, I'm looking back on a lot of Roger Moore's on the bad things that happens, and he's a cold-hearted killer. Roger is.
Yeah.
And you liked him in Sea Wolves, as I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I knew him from The Saint because my mum watched that before James Bond. But the Sea Wolves, my dad liked Sea Wolves. Granddad liked Sea Wolves as well because there's a lot of old, big actors in there. He
is
basically
that pre-Bond, I presume?
Post.
Post.
Well, it's around 80s. I think it's early 80s. I think.
Okay.
But it's basically a negotiator Bond. I mean, you don't see him doing too much. He basically does the negotiating, the talking. But I don't know. I don't know if anyone else knows, but whether Roger Moore played any other sort of character than his stereotyped. Basically, he's a Tom Cruise actor, if we're being honest. Apart
The
from
man
Tropic
who haunted
Thunder.
himself is a very, different.
Oh yeah.
Different. Sorry, just
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too many Roger Moore movies. I do remember Mum and us watching Seawolves a lot. Yeah, I mean, I can't get away from him and James Bond. With Sean Connery, it's The Highlander for me. That's a massive movie for me when he teaches there can be only one. But yeah, so that's all me on Roger Moore.
Nice.
Any fun facts, sir?
Fun facts. Well, like I said, he did 7 movies. He was 46 when he played Bond in this first movie, which is incredible. And he was 58 when he did the last one. 58. And we're supposed to believe that he can destroy Grace Jones, eh? I mean, flipping it.
Yeah.
It was the other thing that in Live and Let Die, there was a fake country in Saint Monique. I love the Golden Gun. I don't know if you guys see that. I love that. Again, it's a gadget sort of thing. I love there's not other. I don't know if I've got. I love the Lotus Esprit submarine in The Spy Who Loved Me. That's just impregnated in my brain. And Moonraker laser pistols. But like I said, I thought that Fleming, from what I read, that I knew he was asked in the 60s to play Bond, but he had the commitment with the Saint, I think, in 66 or something like that. But they got his man in the end.
I can't believe he put Goodnight into the closet to get it on with Rod Adams.
Darling, your time will come.
Yeah, good night. I need to save the world. You need to hide in this closet while I make love over here to another woman. Oh.
Quick
Unacceptable.
fun fact. So obviously Roger Moore is associated with Rolex and Seiko.
Yeah.
Third brand that is sort of.
There was the Pulsar, and then there was also a Tissot.
BR 516.
Yeah.
Which was a stunt watch.
Right.
By all look at it, was there because it kind of looked like the Submariner, so you can see it when the Bayou chase and
There's a thing as well. I can't remember what the film was. I think it's one of the last ones where Seiko did commission a date type watch. It was very similar to a Rolex, but because they hadn't got it to the production in time, Roger wears his own date just.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Is that why he? Yeah, because I saw those shots. Is that why then? That's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what I've read, and I've read that 3 times, so it must be true.
There's also the he did wear in an outtake was it the tuner? I'm pretty sure it was a tuner, or was it an Arnie?
Definitely wears a tuner. He wears the Arnie in View to a Kill. He also wears a tuner in. Yeah, he wears a tuner in.
For Your Eyes Only.
For Your Eyes Only, 100%.
Can you imagine if they had left that in? How it would change the it would have had that would have been interesting.
Well, someone said to me that because they love their Bonds and they love their LED watches, but what Roger Moore helped do for that PSR was, I think it was Pulsar Hamilton. They made them 150 million in the year from that Bond. But of course there was other. Elton John was wearing it. There was other big people wearing it.
Yeah.
But
it was the hottest thing.
150 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He wore as well in a still of him in his naval uniform that I think is used somewhere in the film, but he's wearing a Pepsi GMT. You can see, you find it online. Roger Moore in it is technically him as Bond because it was a still used for the film, and I think it's for Spy, but don't quote me. And he's got, which is what Pussy Galore wore, so I brought mine just to yeah.
Oh, nice. So, yeah. Oh, that's another thing about Goldfinger. This is the first time I noticed a watch on, a female character. I'm glad you brought that up. Has anyone seen this book? It's pretty fantastic.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. I'll put this in the store. Actually, I highly recommend it.
That's not a wall for PPK, is it?
That's
What
Live
is
and Let
that
Die.
thing?
That's the Magnum that he has in the end of. That was his
Live
Stevie
and Let
Queen
Die,
one,
right?
wasn't it? Yeah, the end of
Yeah. All right, I'll look at that later. I'll forget that I'm doing a live show. Duncan, go on.
Right, it's me. Well, I have the easy task really because I only have one watch essentially to talk about, and Pierce Brosnan. But anyway, let's dive in, shall we? Obviously, Pierce Brosnan was due to take over in The Living Daylights. That was supposed to be his original film. He was signed up. It was all going to happen, and then the contract for Remington Steele got renewed. I gather largely off the back of the fact that he had then got lots of publicity. So that meant they renewed it for something like 8 episodes and only ended up doing 3 or something. But yeah, that kind of took him out of the game, which must have sucked. I mean, I can only imagine how awful that would have been. So of course then the years roll by, we get to the early 90s, and here he comes. So what I think, my personal thing with this is this was very much at a time when I Bond for me at that point, I was in 1995, I was 11. And I was, James Bond was sort of about old stuffy men and golf, as far as I could tell. My dad had shown me the films. I'd gone, all right, and then but he'd shown me the old ones and not the kind of more current. I guess I'd seen some of the Roger Moore ones, but basically it was Sean Connery. And at the time, I was far too young to sort of really have the patience to watch that. And then GoldenEye came out, and I didn't see it in the cinema. I was too young, but we rented it, and I remember that coming on. And it's the moment when he jumps on the conveyor belt and shoots all the barrels. The barrels come out of the spring-loaded barrel store that for some reason is 2 stories high. No, I don't know why. Obviously, and I was like, I'm in. This is it.
Right.
This is incredible. And of course, that film is it tops many lists. I think for most people, as just being one of the most sort of complete Bond film in packages, and really kind of nailed. And it sort of straddles, much as that as we talk about watches of that era being neo-vintage, sort of having one foot in the vintage and one foot, with modern materials but sort of vintage proportions and construction. I think that film is similar in that regard. You've got a lot of if you look at it, it has that kind of very much shot on film. It's almost got a Jeffrey Unsworth type haze to it. There's a haze over the whole thing, and it just looks like a movie. I was like, so yeah. And then of course,
do you think they lost that a bit with Brosnan's series?
Oh god, yeah. By the time you get to The World Is Not Enough, you lose. I mean, that film was shot multicam, so it was shot by I forget who the DP was, but I know it was directed by Michael Apted, who was essentially a documentary or docudrama guy. Really? He'd won for Gorillas in the Mist, and
he did that. Okay,
he did 7 Up. He did the 7 Up series.
Wow.
So he was very much more of a documentary guy, kind of a docudrama guy. So his stuff, it seems like it was shot for coverage. Everyone's center frame. It looks very televisual. Just in terms of the main unit stuff, obviously second unit, you've got Vic Armstrong still doing all that from Tomorrow Never Dies. So he's, it does the second unit stuff, the boat chase, all the action looks bombastic, but it's shot differently to the first two. So yes, Pierce, I think for me was like I was a kid, and it was like I was like, oh, James Bond is back, like he'd been gone. I thought it was done, I thought it was a thing of yesteryear, and now here's this guy bringing it back, and obviously he became a big star of the 90s, and I think formative years of mine. I think it was a big thing. I think for me, because I think was the question, what would I like to see of him brought into the new era? Obviously, there's talk now because of the Amazon takeover of a sort of old man Bond. Where he, and that's one of those like be careful what you wish for things. As much as I love him, and I think he would do a great turn as that. I don't think it would, it wouldn't be. What would it be? I mean, it would be a sort of, I guess, Unforgiven but Bond. But
yeah,
old horses.
Yeah,
old horses, well.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I don't know.
It'll be a bit like A View to a Kill.
Yes, because he's now
To be
what?
fair.
13,
Very
14
very
years
good,
old.
Russell. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, sclerotic and just wheezy, I think probably. But anyway, I think what I would like to see it was that for me, it's a combination. I think he was someone who he had that matinee idol look that really got dragged in, but really worked on camera. And it was the kind of he often gets slapped with the jack of all sort of label of being kind of too like every other Bond kind of thing, or a Bond Swiss Army knife, or whatever, however you want to call it. But I think isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
It's like you take the best
Definitely.
of everyone, and I think he really managed to. There was a smooth, slick, almost percussive quality, certainly to that. I think Martin Campbell directs and cuts with rhythm and percussion, and I think that film, but also Tomorrow Never Dies was David Arnold's first film scoring Bond films, and he went through to Quantum of Solace, and I think he's someone who very much has a toe in the Barry, if you like.
Yeah.
And if that's a odd I think he knew how to. There's little motifs from You Only Live Twice in there at the end, and there's all sorts of amazing things that he drops in there. And of course, used propeller heads for that track, Backseat Driver, which is over the BMW, the remote control BMW car chase. Just really a sort of inventive time, I think, in those first two anyway, maybe the second one. I think and then it got stale. It got into XXX territory, I think.
Right. Well, can I ask, when you were 11, did you already have an eye for the watches, or did that come later? How did that work?
No, so I should have. I don't know where it is. It's not here. I had that book. I had the Making of Goldeneye book that I think someone gave me or something, and in it there was this. Right, there was this shot of this watch, and I was like, "Watch," and I was. As a kid, I was bullied. I was the fat kid at school. I used to get bullied a lot, and I don't know if it was something about like, it's almost a kind of talisman type. Maybe if I got the watch, I'd be cool enough. Like maybe people would take me seriously. I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Wait, how old were you?
I would have been. So well, then I would have been more in my teens. So this was more when. Tomorrow Never Dies was coming out.
Right.
So this would have been when I was 13.
That's quite an extraordinary thing to think.
It's the musings of a 13-year-old who doesn't.
No, I mean,
who's an only child.
Duncan, I agree. I feel that now with the Arnie I put on now. I mean, I was never.
Ain't got
I
time
was
to
lucky,
bleed.
Duncan. I was very lucky because I was a massive geek. I had very bad short sightedness, but I was very good at sport. And that I was able to just bridge both gaps. I play Sonic and also score a goal. I mean, I was very lucky that. But I can definitely see, and I felt that in my teens as well, how much empowering a watch can make you. And yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. I think it was part of it. I used to sort of. I'd go down Marks and Spencers and find the best suit I could afford. Because I went to a school where I managed to get a scholarship to go to a public school, and so I was lucky. Didn't come from wealth or anything, but I sort of, and I think that might have been it as well, and that maybe that I know it's sort of something that kind of was subsequently explored in the Craig era, but there was that thing of like not coming from wealth, being in a world of wealth. Though
now it's starting to make sense to me. Now it's starting to make sense.
In hindsight, perhaps. Although I'm not an orphan, so that's good.
Right. Did you play the game at all? When in the menu it would come? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, that certainly did it for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. But and this watch, I know this is the quartz. Obviously, this is just from Goldeneye, and then we the 2531.80. That's the auto version that which is on screen right now. But and you asked me to pick a favorite moment, but a Bond watch moment, which I went for the grapple hook from The World Is Not Enough. Funnily enough, because it's the most sort of stand-outish moment, I think, of the Brosnan And he kind of keeps wearing, like, he keeps it on his wrist, on his like that, while he's going around shooting people, because he's used it as a grappling gun. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's just different, rather than a laser or whatever, or a remote mine detonator. I thought it was just that was cool. So anyway, yeah.
But you like that Squale as a possible alternate?
Well, so I went Squale. Now it's very hard to find a brand that hasn't actually appeared in a Bond film. Of one of note. I mean, you guys have obviously done an amazing job of doing that, and so it was very hard for me. Let's put it that way, with my limited knowledge of such things. I went with Squale because obviously T and I have a bit of history with those guys. I'm a big fan. I got to know them going out and making a film with them, and really loving them actually and realizing just the heritage that's there, just from a sort of diving.
Yeah, that was just after COVID lockdowns lifted. We went to Italy together to film a documentary for them, which I edited, and I'm not going to say directed, but kind of in a way, because I'm not really a director. But you presented, you helped script, and then you subsequently kind of fell in love with the brand, which is different. You mentioned the people, and it's truly, I know this sounds like a cliche, but it is like a family there. And it is, like when you know the people behind the passion behind the brand, you start to, it makes you like
Monique,
it more.
Right?
Yeah, Monique. I mean, she's a living legend. I mean, she's in her 90s still diving. I mean, it's just nuts, sorry, I don't mean to hijack, but I was just a bit of context because to explain why, how you got into it.
Yes, for sure. And I went for the sub 39. I've got they gave me a Gagliati.
Yeah.
So this is the only Squale I have, and I love it. But it just, I just thought it's got the Squale have it's no nonsense, it's diving. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think if you were to pick a brand, you had to pick a brand that Bond's never worn, and sort of comes out of left field. Why not? He's not wedded to it. I think it has to be a diver. I know he's played around with other things, but really it's got to be a diver, hasn't it? To go with his cards on the table. I actually think Omega are probably the best brand for him. As a character. I really do. Much as I love the Submariner, I have more Submariners than I do Seamasters at the moment. And I had the No Time to Die, which was Tristana's favorite watch of all time. Of course, as he's often stated, it's on my. I had it when we did my collection review years ago, and I did enjoy that watch a lot. But I just think it's. To me, it makes more sense, really. Like nowadays, can you see him wearing a modern Submariner? I can't.
The only thing I would say, Duncan, when I saw this came out, this was, for me, it's the ultimate dad's watch, this Seamaster, because this big chunky bracelet, big shiny polished links, very very in your face, and to me, it's like he's supposed to be a spy, and it's like it was made to be seen. The Seamaster, that Seamaster was made to be seen. Why is it blue? It was made to be seen. It was made to be different than the Rolex Submariner. It was made to be. Why has it got a textured wavy dial? Because it wants to be very different from the Submariner, and it wants to be seen. It was just my view. Bond's watch should not be seen.
That's an interesting point, because
okay.
while it's the old rivalry. They're the oldest rivalry in dive watches. As you say that, it is very unlike the Submariner. But if you look at it at the same time, it has the same components that all divers have. It has the diving time bezel, has the hands that are differentiated, has that the rectangles for the markers.
Well, that's what annoyed me as well with the Omega. They copied the Rolex dials indices, and that they're not like that. They're not like you made a point that you said, that looks like an Omega, and this is what their dials used to look like for the military.
Yeah, they're only gone
In the
back more
90s.
recently, right?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Well, they did the 2254. Is it the version of this, but with the black dial and the Speedmaster bracelet? Well, you can get both actually, but with exactly those markers and the sword hands, which has become a sort of cult classic. And I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. No, I totally get what you're saying. I just think.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect for the 90s. It's the 90s, isn't it? I mean, it's bigger, bolder. It's there to be seen. That's it. You know, I totally get that.
The scalloped bezel is, functionally speaking, not the best.
That's fair.
But you know, there's something inherently British about that blue and that style, that Pierce together with Pierce, and I still don't know what it is. There's something. Maybe it's because Prince was it not Harry's
William's got a
Got a
I don't know if it's that has kind of seeped into my mind or something. But yeah, it's just I still love it. I still yearn, and I've had I don't know 7, 8 different Seamaster variants. And I think actually, not to give spoilers away, but D is probably one of the most appropriate that Bond should have worn with that GMT and that dial configuration. Anyway, sorry.
Just say on this watch stand by today's video sponsor, my dad. He made this for my birthday last weekend, which was very kind of him.
Awesome. Look at
Nice.
that.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy belated.
The one thing I can add to that conversation, touching upon what Russ had to say, is Jean-Claude Biver, who was at Omega Swatch at the time, they were going to pay $50,000 to get that Seamaster featured. He went and said, no, I'm going to give you $1 million to feature it, but I want it featured everywhere. So that's why we have the blue Omega in everyone's face.
Was that him that did that then? Interesting. I did not know that. That is amazing. Thank you very much.
Well, Lindy Hemming tries to claim some degree of ownership of that, doesn't she? Because I think she said, I wanted an Omega for him. But anyway, sorry, I'm derailing.
That's right. Your villains.
My villains.
Yes. This is my favorite actor, this guy.
Well, Mads.
Aside from Duncan.
Well, I think, come on. Who are we kidding? No, Mads Mikkelsen, my man. He's, I think, as Le Chiffre, unceremoniously dispatched, but I think that is kind of in the novel. That is kind of how he goes out. But he's just as an actor and just as a an on-screen presence. I think he's just the guy. If you say to me Bond villain, he's him. But special mention to Michael Lonsdale because it's funny because he often gets forgotten about, and he's not Drax in the novel is nothing like that whatsoever. And I think he managed to sort of take a role that he had no way of referencing. He's essentially asked to be a Stromberg 2.0,
right? Yes. Yeah.
And he just has some beautiful lines like they can see that some harm comes to him and all that, like you missed Mr. Bond. He's like, did I? When he shoots the guy out. I love all that. What does he call it? And it's just cucumber sandwiches, all that stuff. It's all very get out of my way, which is quite Drax from the novel. But Drax in the novel is an ex.
Isn't he a Nazi?
He's like a Nazi,
complete Nazi. Yeah.
Who messed up? I shan't say, but cocked up. His he had a plot to bomb
London, isn't it?
Oh well, in the main, his main thing is that, but he had a plot to bomb an Allied outpost or something. But he set the timer wrong. Oh no. I can't remember what it is. He said, and he ended up cycling to try and turn it off and got blown up off the road. I can't remember. Oh no, he said that's right. He put it in a car. The car was coming back. He got blown up, and then he got taken in. His face got blown off, so he got taken into the Allied thing to be fixed up. And then they thought he was British, so he assumed a British identity, and that's how he got into British society. Right, which is Gustav Graves in Die Another Day. It's the same thing. Die Another Day is really Moonraker because it's about facial replacement or DNA replacement. So it gribs a lot from that.
How many books are there?
Many. I don't have them here. They're upstairs. Well, there's all the continuation novels and that Fleming I think wrote. Sorry.
The one thing that I love is that that's an absolutely horrible torture scene. Show that picture again, D. That one.
Oh God,
Daniel
yes.
Craig.
Jesus,
now,
yeah.
what I want you to do, team and everyone, is imagine Roger Moore is sat there. He wouldn't allow it. He would not have allowed it. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Roger Moore?
You mean
there?
he would have given up the money immediately? He wouldn't have gone to the chair. Is that what
He
you mean
wouldn't
by
have given
wouldn't
any
allow it?
secret. Yeah,
It's a carpet beater in the novel. But that, again, that's another example, because obviously it's Martin Campbell again in that film. It's another example of that percussive editing. You know, the guy, you see the switchblade come out, or the butterfly knife, right? It's like, and then it's the cutting the bottom out of the chair, and he flings it off, and it goes like a frisbee. The chair thing, it goes, and it's just a beautiful one of those like serendipitous things that happens on, and then it's bang, Bond down, and it communicates everything that's going on, and certainly as a male member of the audience, you go, yep, I know where this is going. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and the sound design, because he's at the hull of a ship, so it's all clanging off the.
Have you seen the Longines that Le Chiffre wears?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, yes, yeah, it's a square, or is it?
Yeah, it's just like a Torno. Kind of, yeah. I think
chronograph,
so. I can't
can look
remember.
it
I
up.
did a video about villains and their watches a long time ago, which actually kind of ties into Lazenby. We'll discuss that.
I tried to find a Longines, by the way, because I thought Longines would make a great brand for Bond, but I couldn't find one that I thought worked.
Well, not the compressor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skin diver.
That was a Longines Evidenza chronograph.
Ah, it was a chronograph. Nice.
I mean, the Hydra Conquest. He could do the Hydra Conquest.
Yeah.
Possibly. That's a do it all watch, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's true.
So you liked him in the Matador as well, Duncan?
Loved him in the Matador. It was a toss-up between that and Thomas Crown, but Thomas Crown would be the obvious. I think his performance in the Matador is more. It's more left. It's just out of left field. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not what you would think of for Brosnan. It's just cracking.
So Duncan, why don't you take a sip of water before we ask you to defend your Bond girl, Minnie Driver as Irina, and I quote, "Stand by your man."
My favorite thing is that when he
proud
goes,
of him. After all, he's just a man.
that's amazing rendition. My favorite thing is Robbie Coltrane's reaction when he goes, "We're strangling the cat," and he goes, "Strangling me." Yeah.
It's my business. That's just me having some fun with my new buddy Duncan. His real pick, same film, different babe, but Minnie Driver, we salute you. Natalia at your
Isabella Scorupco. I saw. Do you know one of the things that cemented it for me? And I always loved her performance. I always thought she was that perfect blend of like capable. Obviously, there's a clear agency to her, like, because obviously she's part of the kind of tech side of things, so she's got that clear value to what's going on. But I think also the strength of character that comes through from her. But she does fulfill the damsel in distress thing as well a bit. But I think it was an interview on set they did of it somewhere where someone's, they fed her the usual question of like, oh, so you're playing, this. She's a really strong character, and like Bond girls haven't been very strong in the part. And she just went, they've always been strong. What are you talking about? Like, she was like, they're all strong. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, Bond girls have always been strong. They've always had agency, and it's true. Like, you look back at Honey Rider. Honey Rider wasn't like a. I know she had she needed rescuing at one point, but she's introduced with like a knife in a thing, and she's like threatening Bond that if he comes any closer, she'll she's tough. Like, they're all tough, pretty much. I mean, apart from Stacey Sutton, they're all tough. And so I think I love that about her. She didn't take any nonsense from the press. She just went, nah, she's strong. You know that. Like, you'll see it when I do it. She was, and I just thought her performance in it is just brilliant. I think just as an actor, quite apart from anything else, I think she's just nailed that role. So,
Any fun facts for your Bond?
For Pierce, facts. What facts do I know about Pierce Brosnan? My friend shot a corporate video with him once, and he got out of a car and went, "Umbrellas." That's all I know. The only Bond I've met is Daniel Craig. I've not met Pierce. Much to I would love to.
What is that film where he goes, "Get out of here"?
Oh,
what is that?
The Taffin. It's, I have not seen it, but he goes, "Maybe you shouldn't be living here." It's a very unhinged performance, but yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen it completely out of context, and I was like, "What is going on?"
As long as I'm living here, I am. Well, maybe you shouldn't be living here.
Nice, nice.
Buddy.
So, D, take
Yes.
it away, man.
Bringing it in. I'm gonna zip through mine a little bit so we can get to some of the super chats. Gentry viewers, we do love you. We just have a lot to chit chat because we clearly all love us some Bond. What did Craig bring? Brutality. He's only 5'10", so he's 4 inches shorter than the other actors, but he is built like a pit bull. And for me, I didn't know Connery did that bit of brawling.
Yeah.
I kind of have to rank this with who I would least want to get beat up by in an alley. Roger Moore, I would help. I would fight him all day long. But more, Mr. Craig, no way. I'm not looking twice at him. And what would I like to see in the something new that he brought? His Bond was a complete reboot of the series, and that's what we need because all of the Bonds recognize the marriage from Lazenby going up to and including Dalton Pierce. Is kind of a transition. We don't acknowledge the marriage, and when we have this Bond, it's a complete reboot from the start. But what I want is I want to see Bond at age 12, 15, 17 going into the Navy and getting recruited out of it because even Vesper said MI6 likes to recruit maladjusted young men. For me, that's the story I want to see, and the denouement at the end could be leading into his first mission to beat up the guy in the bathroom, and then the last scene is maybe even post-credit scene could be him going to meet that one fellow that he is shoots in the beginning of Casino Royale. That's what I would love to see from that new series. And even like Duncan speculated in his video, maybe doing an episodic or something like that, period episodic. That was a great video, Duncan, if you wanted to.
Thank you. Well, I postulated, I thought if you're going to, we're essentially going to, we know that they're talking about doing sort of TV series and adjunct, well, sort of medium hopping, I suppose. And if you were going to do that, I think that's where you do your period thing. That's where you do the original novels. And you go back and each season is a novel. Then you start with Casino Royale, but then the problem with that is you have to do Casino Royale first, which has sort of been done perfectly.
The only critique or danger there, and I quickly Googled before we did the show. Actually, that's why I was late. But I was looking at what shows Amazon has actually produced. It's different from buying and then showing actually produced. The most similar and fairly decent, fairly strong in the first seasons, but kind of lost its way, was Jack Ryan. And I couldn't find anything else that was, in the same wheelhouse or in the same.
Reach is sort of.
I haven't seen that, to be honest.
I would say in the sense that it follows the books well.
Okay.
But it's not. I mean, the problem is people reach for those things and say that's emblematic. I like Prime Amazon do know what they're doing, but you kind of go, yeah, but that's been what in the last 5 years. Like you're talking about a 60-year-old franchise that you. I don't know how you can sort of say, well, that is therefore evidence that they can turn this into a TV show. But I just think it's got to. The Broccolis aren't out of it. They're just not in the decision-making chair anymore. So my thing would be ask them what they would do, and try and do it as much.
Maybe hire them as consultants or something. And
they still have a significant chunk of ownership. It's just not creative control. So it's like 40% or something simple, but it is.
Don't mean to interrupt, but Harlem King did put a very good question. And we kind of answered that earlier with the
Arnie.
The Arnie that was in a scene cut from the one with he goes up the Eiffel Tower. God damn it!
Yeah, View to a Kill.
Yes, thank you.
View to a Kill. The H558. Yeah,
yeah. So
I think he does show that in that film. I think there's another one too that he. It's a gold and black one.
This is kind of why I think the aerospace. I know they're phasing it out, and I'm very, very sad about it, and that's why I kind of jumped on it before they got rid of it. But like as a tool, it has everything, and it's disconnected. You can't hack this. You know that thing that the U.S. military put out to all their soldiers overseas, serving overseas. I've included it in several videos. they recommend you not wear your Apple Watch because you can get tracked, and so like something like this, perfect. You got that functionality. Anyway, sorry. D, please take it away.
Rolling back to my watch talk, love the Spectre. I love when the scene when Q gives it to him and Bond's like, what does it do? And Q's like, it tells the time, might help with your punctuality issues, but the alarm is rather loud. So I love the return to a bit of gadgetry that, after Pierce kind of, went away almost entirely. It's a touch large with a lugged lug of, I think, about 48 millimeters and a limited edition of 7007, but it's claiming a 2x price on the pre-owned market versus the exact same model.
I had one of the normal ones.
Oh, yeah. You do?
And I wanted to buy one of those for the longest time, and it was just like, I'm not spending that.
The bezel insert and the lollipop seconds hand just can't command a 2x. But I have the best and the worst answer considering the people I'm speaking with about a watch that he should have. He has the smart blood, but he needs more information on his wrist, more calm. So basically what Frederic Constant has done with their Vitality watch, it is a quartz piece, but it has that dial that offers you some smart features to it. I don't think the technology is there just yet, but I think a mechanical based watch with if Bulgari can make that tourbillon so thin, they can certainly get the dial technology. So it's got just the dial is the smart part, but the mechanical workings are still underneath. And as a channel partner for that Sinn, with all of their technology they put into their watches, whether it's the gas.
Didn't Sinn put some kind of smartwatch technology into a clasp, and it failed, but sales-wise, and they
sounds familiar. I don't remember, but that sounds familiar.
I think they discontinued it rather quickly, but they tried to find a different way of putting that technology on the same wrist as a mechanical watch.
Yeah, I think you did once. You had a regular watch and you had a Casio underneath.
Yeah, I just put the Casio on the bottom of the strap. It was incredibly useful because I could wear. Yeah, I could have a diver or whatever on the top. It was for this. The same reason I wear this, because if I'm going jogging, I need a chronograph. I use the alarm. I then have the bezel to time other things. It's incredibly useful. And if you got a digital or something, I do a lot of business overseas with calls and stuff. I need to know what time it is in London or Rome or wherever.
Right.
So, yeah,
absolutely. Ooh. And so my favorite other role is clearly Layer Cake. I think it's the reason he got the job is his performance in that film. That I love that. It's the art. Give me one of my favorite quotes. The art of business is being a good middleman. Just tremendous. And as far as Bond girls go, it's a toss up between Solitaire and Palermo for me. Solitaire was a virgin before Roger tricked her into bed with $200 of fake tarot cards, Russell. So kind of a dum-dum, to be fair. And she might be the only.
She might be the only non-strong woman. She wasn't that strong, Duncan, was she? Solitaire. She was quite.
BB wasn't strong.
Yeah.
No, BB. Well, she was strong in her pursuing of.
The armas with those. Was it 2 Uzis or something when she was doing all that? Oh my God.
And my favorite thing about her is why I would want her for myself is she's not the actress is my celebrity crush, but she didn't actually sleep with Bond, so she's not damaged goods.
Her name, the armas in Spanish, it means of arms. Like weapons. Like
okay.
Yeah. So I don't.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I could use a woman who can protect me. Yeah. And then Moneypenny in the corner is not here because she's a Bond girl. She is my favorite villain of the entire franchise. Moneypenny is the most effective villain ever, and I can prove it. Decades of sexual harassment going in both directions, harassing James, asking him to bring a diamond ring back, and then in other movies, threatening to report him to HR for hitting on her. And then when Lazenby finally gets around to inviting her to his place for drinks, she's all demure. Oh, demure. I couldn't possibly trust myself if I went. Okay, tease. And then this one, Naomi Harris, is the only person in all of Bondom to effectively shoot Bond and take him off the chessboard for the longest period of time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, here we have Dr. No.
Safin did.
Well, no. Safin didn't.
That's not what killed him, though.
No. Safin ruined his life. Bond called in the mission strike, and he refused to go get the Nightwing thing to escape. So Safin just ruined his life. And when Pierce was stuck in North Korea, it was for 14 months. He got out. The little torture scene, that was only 2 or 3 weeks. In Dr. No, we hear his Beretta failed, and that's why he got switched to the Walther, but he was out of commission for 6 months. So this version, let me get back to her. This version of villain shot him and got to keep her job. She came in on Monday. Could you imagine working for someone, you kill the number one salesperson, you still have a job? No, she came in on Monday, like, yeah, Moneypenny, we're going to put you on a desk for a while. And she still has her health care, and she still has dental coverage.
I was there for those scenes.
And killed.
You were there for those scenes?
Well, not the shooting, but the MI6 stuff. Yeah. I have a funny, I brought my David Zaritsky, I am not, but I brought this is the one thing I stole accidentally from Skyfall. It was my tie that I was wearing, and it does still have the costume. I don't know if you see the wardrobe department label in it. I walked off with it, and I forgot I was wearing it. If I'm honest, yes, that was. But yeah, we did all those that whole you better keep moving stuff. We did, the pioneer.
Hilarious. Mm-hmm. So my fun facts. I have some extra pictures here. Daniel Craig could not drive a 5-speed manual transmission car walking into his role of Casino Royale. He is, of course, married to Rachel Weisz. I don't know who got the better deal, him or her. I think it's probably even keel balance. Albert Finney in the upper right. Sean Connery was in negotiations to play that role of the groundskeeper in Skyfall, which is somewhat epic. Albert did an amazing job, but that would have been quite the holler back.
It was muted at one point that Skyfall was going to be a retirement home for old agents. That's why. And that's why that whole word association scene doesn't make sense now, because it's like, when he goes like Skyfall and he goes done, that is in reference to being done, being retired. And obviously it's not, it's his ancestral home or whatever. So I think that there was a lot of them thinking that's what that would be as a sort of the, where they went, but then it just became ludicrous. And it's like, that's essentially the code name theory, isn't it? Because if Sean Connery's there, it's like, okay, what? So yeah.
Interesting.
And my last fun fact is we like to think of Bond as a gentleman, but my James Bond is the worst tipper in the history of the world. Looking at that tableau at the top, the card game, the dealer dealt him a straight flush to beat a ace high flush and 2 full houses. He wins $120 million, saves the free world, and he tips the dealer a red placard. That red placard is $500,000. It's probably 4x that dealer's salary, but the point is, the blue placard is $1 million. Tip the guy $1 million, and then you've got a story. Oh, yes, money penny. I tipped a man $1 million once. But no, he only tipped $500,000 out of $120 million, which is 0.4%. Now, I'm not saying 15%. I'm not saying 15% is appropriate, but when the dealer gives you a 5-card straight flush to save the free world, give him the $1 million placard. It doesn't matter.
Wow, you're really observant.
I used to play a lot of poker.
Right. Yeah.
Watching going into that film, I could tell what's going on, and I'm like, wait a minute, do it for the story, man. What is wrong with you, James? Do it for the story. So
shall we? Sorry to cut you off. Shall we just get Lazenby and Dalton out of the way, because we have to kind of address it before we go. I don't want to take too much time with you guys.
Yeah, let me upload that.
Oh yeah. You have to think.
I've got that.
I really, really like Timothy Dalton. And Duncan, I'm sure, because I know you've talked about it at great length with Richard. Shout out to Richard, not that he'll ever watch this, but in Hot
He's a Star
Fuzz,
Trek man.
yeah, he's a Star Trek man. In what did he say about James Bond? He called it something just about posh people going traveling or something, or something,
I don't know,
something to that effect.
He does love A Tomorrow Never Dies, which, so God bless him, he does try,
nice.
but he's more
Okay.
of a, yeah, he does. In fact, pretty much every time. So we go to my friend Brad's, who's the director you've made films with. We go around his and get drunk, and then we tend to put on Tomorrow Never Dies. And every time we go like, let's watch something else, and we're like, oh, let's just watch this.
Nice.
So we've watched, I watch it every time with them. But yeah, he's bless him.
He, I really like him in Hot Fuzz, and I feel like he's an amazing villain. And I said this actually, I think I said it on Dee's channel when we had that post hangout last time, and I said how he reminds me of that line, and I actually went and looked it up because I didn't know if I was talking out my cool or for that show, but I actually found it. It's funnily enough, it's after the murder of King Duncan, no less, the King of Scotland in Macbeth. Donalbain says there are daggers in men's smiles, and he's referring to thinking he's going to be next, and that always stuck. There's a look that even when Dalton smiles, there's this menace to him, and I could just feel that he could flip and do something really, really terrible, and I like that about him. There's a sense of danger, and also his films. Oh, there's the tag. I almost bought one actually the other day, and I really had to fight myself not to. But there's this kind of squalid kind of seediness about, especially the one with Benicio del Toro, the Robert Davi, the druggy one. There's something kind of nasty. It's a nasty. Anyway, sorry. I just want to say that because I like Dalton, and I feel I would like to see him do more actually, or back in the day. Any thoughts?
They approached him when he was in his early 20s, and he turned it down thinking he was too young to be Bond. He felt Bond should have been in his mid to late 30s, and he was around 26, 28-ish, and reportedly turned the role down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think, Duncan?
Of Tim? Yeah, I mean, just I think he's one of those. I suppose because it's almost like I don't know what you would call it, an anthology or something. There's kind of the duology or whatever you want to call it of Dalton. It's that sort of, obviously you only got the two, which is a weird number now when you think about it. Because obviously you've had Lazenby with one, but to just get two, it's a funny thing. Like now we expect to just get started after two, and usually it's the third one where they hit their stride kind of thing. Yeah.
His contract expired. And whenever they went to renegotiate, the Broccoli's wanted him to sign on for, it was either 5 or 6 additional.
Yeah.
And he politely declined. So that's why we didn't get our third one, because they sign them for a minimum of 3. But in his case, so much time had passed, they all came back to the table, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we want you to sign on for 5 more." And Tim's like, "No, I don't think so. Nope."
Yeah. Yeah, so he was great. I think I do think Living Daylights, I think his performance errs on the theatrical side. I think there's moments of great subtlety, but there's other moments of like, I don't want to do this, and I'm over here. It's all very kind of...
He's slightly thespian.
Thespian, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's a place for that, and it's not bad. It's just sort of, it's not screen Bond, I suppose, in a way. But then it's his version of it, and I think he's great. Don't get me. And it's a great Cold War sort of thriller.
Yeah.
There's moments. There's. Where is it in? I can't remember where it is. Is it Belarus or somewhere? All the stuff with the cello and the.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to get into Belarus. I can't remember, but there's the stuff when they're trying to get.
Goes through that
out.
pipe.
Yeah, no, that's the start. But the bit where he's trying to get Kara out,
they're trying to get into Austria. They eventually get to Austria. They get safe, and then they run into Golgo at the towards the end. But easily the best of the Bond cars when it comes to gadgets. And this cute little dum dum is in the car. And he's like, Oh yeah, I had my radio upgraded. That's why here come the police. Oh yeah, I had some other options. Yeah, just sit there and hold your tree.
It's like,
Go play with your cello, and then.
Yeah, but I think it's it's funny because there's some. Well, that's an example of a sort of Roger Mooreism that's kind of carried over into the script. I think a bit because it's Peter Hunt, isn't it? Directed.
You know what, Duncan? You're absolutely right. I didn't even think about the fact that he hadn't really. What's the expression? He's got into his stride or whatever.
Found his feet. His feet.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. But I think it was interesting. There was, and I think what's funny about Hot Fuzz is that he's incredibly funny. He's playing a villain, obviously, but it's almost like you got to see that bit of him got unleashed. Do you know what I mean? It's which I find interesting.
Utter tosh, wasn't it? I stuff in that slasher of prices.
Slasher. Yeah. He's like chewing the scenery. It's just like glorious. I just want to see more of that.
And the indignity of his end. When he lands on the spire, because the ginger nut gets it. He's one of those people who just overpronounces things. Like he can't stand a glottal stop. So at the start of The Living Daylights, when he lands on the yacht and
wearing
Margot's
the tag,
friend, whatever her name is, sort of goes, "Who are you?" Which sounds like she was dubbed by Mrs. Doubtfire. It's really weird because if you see in the trailers, she doesn't have that accent. She has quite a deep voice. I think that actress. So
I think she couldn't speak English very well or something.
Yeah. It's just, "Who are you?" And he goes, Bond, James Bond, and he goes but he goes, tell him I'll be an hour, and then she goes, "Won't you join me?" And he goes, "Better make that 2." And he's like, "There's 2 T's here, so I'm going to say them." And it's like, you could just say, "Better make that 2."
But that's also about something to do with his Welshness as well coming through, because he has that underlying accent. And actually going back to what I said in the beginning about that, not that Welsh people are foreign, but that otherness that Sean had, that Moore never had, but and in
Brosnan,
a way,
I suppose, did.
Yes, it's Irish. Yeah. Actually, have you ever seen Pierce do in a very early role in the Long Good Friday? I think it is, playing like a Irish hitman. He's quite kind of threatening in a way. Anyway, and I guess Lazenby had that as well. Thoughts on Lazenby? Anybody?
Here's some memory joggers for you. Lazenby was the first Bond to try to resign. Craig tried as well after getting his 120 million. But in that upper left corner is a picture of Moneypenny. He told Moneypenny to enter his resignation. She changed it to ask for 2 weeks off. And he thanks her, but also M, who is listening, intercoms back, "Oh, and thank you too, Miss Moneypenny. I don't know what I would do without you." So Lazenby was the first to try to quit, the first to get married, and the first to have Telly Savalas Kojak as Blofeld.
Yeah, wearing a Patek Ellipse. And there was
my
a lot of
Blofeld as well. Really Blofeld.
There's a lot of great watches for only one movie. There's like, I don't know, several Rolexes and
there's that chronograph in the other right.
Yeah, the pre-Daytona. That would become the Daytona. That's crazy. Yeah.
So, somewhat comically, he's rocking through this medical facility in a kilt, and he's just going from one woman's room to the next, next, and then Blofeld says, historians don't generally try to sleep with a bunch of women in a medical clinic, Mr. Bond. And then of course we have the coat of arms. The world is not enough.
Oh, that's right. He's posing as some kind of research.
He's a heraldic, but it's a allergy clinic or something, isn't it? But the thing, it's implied that his allergy as that character is homosexuality. It's sort of like that's what they're going to cure him of, which of course they do. But I mean, but it's very Fleming. I mean, all that stuff is very Fleming. That is the kind of thing you could see in a novel, like Bond sort of rooting his way through.
Russell, what do you make of Dalton and Lazenby?
I did like Dalton. It was the late 80s, so I definitely impressionable at that time. He was rough and ready. Rough and ready, that's what I think. It's weird when you he's like the rough and ready sandwich in between Pierce Brosnan and Roger Moore. They almost went back with Pierce a little bit, didn't they? With the less rough and ready. I think Timothy was basically Daniel Craig, but in the 80s. They tried to make him more action, more believable, more. I definitely don't remember any charismatic lines that he had. He definitely had some nice quips because he came from the Roger Moore era. But I definitely do like him. Definitely liked him in Flash Gordon as well. They quite like him in Flash Gordon. Yeah. I definitely there's a definite place for Timothy, and now we know why he didn't do more than 2 because he tied into 5 more. Oh man, he would have been as old as Roger, 58 at the end of that.
It's my hot take is that I'm not a fan of Lazenby. A lot of people tend to they hated him when he came in, and then recently they've kind of celebrate that film as some kind of masterpiece, and it is. There are moments that are beautifully done. I'm not, some of the shots, especially of the helicopter scene where they're storming. There's some beautiful photography in it, but I don't know. I never liked him. It never clicked. He's the one that for me, I didn't like him. Didn't like it. Don't know why. Anyone else had a similar experience, or
I was a bit off put by Q Branch in that film, in as much as I don't recall if the window was down when they came by and shot his wife, but the end scene, there appears to be a bullet hole through the windshield, and that's his company car. First of all, I don't know how he got to take his company toys home with him, because he's clearly leaving. He's going off onto holiday, or maybe never coming back. But Q Branch, what the heck? Where is your bulletproof glass when we need you? Right? That's my only critique.
My thing with him is I always thought he did the kind of playboy. Bearing in mind, he was like 28 or something when he got that. Which is, to my mind, far too young. He's obviously he did it on he was like, I'm gonna get this role, mate. I don't care. That's what I want to do, because I want to get laid.
Yeah,
that was his whole thing. Everything. If you ever listen to
that's a direct quote, but it sounds about right.
Is just a sexual glutton.
Didn't he blag his way in, and he bought Submariner, and he was trying to be Bond,
he got one of Connery's suits from Cyril Castle or whoever did the and he turned up and was
Anthony Sinclair or something.
Anthony Sinclair, thank you. Yes, and he went and because he was a model, but he was sort of a fairly well-known model, I think, around London at the time. But at the time as well, this was when my dad was doing some acting as well, and it was around when Michael Caine, even his hairdresser became famous because his hairdresser was Val Sassoon, and it's people, just everyone in that sphere got somewhere, and I think I don't know, it's a bit of a.
He probably couldn't take the fame. I mean, to go from not saying that he was nothing, but going from an outsider to suddenly that level of fame, that's kind of crazy,
I think so, but I think also for the wrong reasons. I think he pursued it as an ego trip, and somehow managed to achieve it. And it's one of those total flukes. Nowadays, knowing the casting process as I do, there's no way you could bust into a casting director's office and just march up the stairs, and it wouldn't happen. You just can't do that. You have to be invited. It wouldn't even be you wouldn't know where it was anymore, because all this stuff happens. It's fairly clandestine. When I've had castings for stuff where they won't tell you what it is, and you get given a scene that's nothing to do with the film, so you've no idea what you're actually reading for. So it just doesn't, and only agents get invited to submit people for things, and it isn't like that anymore. So I think I think he was out of his depth, and I think what he does well is the kind of Playboy Bond, the kind of young Playboy Bond.
Yeah, he has that cheekiness, that bravado. Yeah, that's what Sean brought as well, I think.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, he's kind of trying to do Sean Connery. There's those bits of ADR they throw in, after he beats up the guy in the hotel room and he's walking out, and he just grabs the caviar and eats something. He goes, beluga from the Bosphorus or whatever, and it's like north of the Bosphorus, and it's like, shut up. It's just like, that's just trying too hard, you know.
It doesn't he do something about? Oh God, what I don't even know what it's some long word that describes speciality in butterflies or something.
Lepidoptery.
How on earth do you remember that?
Because I know what the word is.
Where did you pull that from?
It's lepidoptery. That's what it's.
Well, when he tries to resign, he goes back to his office, and he opens the drawer, and he's got Honey's knife there. He's got all this bric-a-brac, all these former trophies from his past.
They're desperate for you to know, aren't they?
Yeah, Jeremy Pitotti said Lazenby bought a Submariner to wear in the film. Yeah, I heard that story too.
There's a 5513 in there. Yeah.
Right, is that what it is? Yeah.
Let's pop up some Ubers.
Let's do some ultra Ubers. John, amico mio. Superb panel. Great to see Duncan, Ross, and D on the screen. Bravo. Onwards and upwards. Thank you, amico. Thank you. Abe. Nice. Belfast there. Always one of the most loyal. Barry. I want a Breitling Thunderball mod kit. Yeah, that would be interesting. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, but what would it do? It'd have to do something, right?
They make Geiger counters you can buy now. You just gotta strap a backpack and just run a wire.
Right. If you need a Geiger counter, that's not really a great sign that things are going well, you know.
I gotta check my radium on my Vertex from 1944.
Oh, true. Fair enough. Mark Bowen, Roger Moore, Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun. It's original voice. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, by the way, thank you everyone who's done these ultras.
This was Harlem King's first super chat that preceded the one we read earlier, but shouting him out.
Very nice. Thank you very much for your support, my friend.
And then we've addressed the Annie Digi.
I'm trying to do another Gentry meetup. You guys got to stay tuned. I'm trying to do one in a store with a brand, but you know they have to go back to HQ, ask for permission, and it takes months, and it's very slow. So, but we will do it. So stay tuned. Mario Cabrera. Lazenby was a nice guy, but in my opinion, the worst Bond. Yeah, I agree with that. Chrono Commander, that's a cool name. And thank you, by the way. The closest Bond Seiko G757 is the Casio. Yes.
The Royale.
Yes, of course. Modified with stainless steel case.
Sorry, going back.
Is that true? That can't. Is that true? I don't want that to be true.
There are shots of him running, and they're not dignified.
Was it to a salad bar or all you can eat?
Yeah. No, it's. I think Man with the Golden Gun, you see him run toward camera, so you know it's him. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Go back. Sorry, go back on the previous. I have. It takes me a while to read because I haven't got my glasses and I'm also dyslexic. So it's like Steve Butcher. I don't know why I said it like.
Steve Butcher. Oh no,
Steve.
The Flaxen Bow.
It's Frank Butcher from EastEnders.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, sorry.
Pat, what are you doing, Pat? What
are you doing?
I have a recurring character from EastEnders. I'll have you know. Dr.
Yes.
Gary McLaughlin.
Nice. Duncan, you've been in
Drake Ramore, really.
Emmerdale, right? EastEnders and Corrie?
No, Corrie is the one left on my bingo card. I've done Holby City
Casualty.
That
was it,
and Doctors, which is a rite of passage for everyone. Daytime television. Very nice. It's its finest. It's now.
Sorry, I missed Frank Butcher's comment there. What was Frank saying? Sorry, he Steve.
Roger never ran in a Bond film. They used stunt doubles. Oh dear.
Nice.
He didn't need to. Yeah,
Tom Hardy is a great vote. Although I want to see a young Bond. I want to see James Bond before he becomes Bond. I want to see Spider-Man beginnings type of thing. But yeah, still a great choice. Great actor.
What's that film with I forgot their names now, but there's it's something called Gentleman, but it's when there's a young boy that
the Huntsman?
Colin Firth.
The Huntsman,
no,
is it? Huntsman.
The Kingsman. The Kingsman.
Sorry, what on earth is the Huntsman?
That
What's
reminds me of
Huntsman is
something
the tailor that it riffs on. So if
Yeah.
you go to Huntsman on Savile Row,
Right,
they have
that's
on
what-
the plaque,
okay.
and on the other side it says Kingsman.
Right. Okay.
The Kingsman's definitely a Bond-esque type feeling of a young fella that's that gets sort of tailored into that sort of spy espionage type stuff.
Yeah. Oh God, now I've forgotten the actor's name, but there is an English actor that I really, really. Hang on, let me look it up. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to look him up.
It's not
Carry on. I'm just going to look this up because I got to get it right.
I'm a huge Dalton fan myself. Always say yes to adventure. Dalton is, I think it was Russ who said it. Dalton is, basically Craig 1.0, which was a great sentiment, Russ.
Certainly License to Kill, I would say.
Yeah.
But that film has such an 80s. I mean, it's got the Cayman score. He never wears a tie, for example. So that is already, it's a very 80s action film, but it has an edge to parts of it. I think they're really, really good.
I had
Robert
one
Darby.
fact that I didn't mention, that Roger Moore never drives an Aston Martin.
No.
Never.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't drive the DB5.
Or he doesn't order a martini. He's given one, but he never orders it.
My pick, I've found him now, is an actor called Theo James, and because if you've seen the Netflix show The Gentleman, which is actually a Guy Ritchie show, it's not bad. It's not a bad show. I really enjoyed it. But he plays an aristocrat that inherits his father's estate. He dies, and he finds out he's growing weed in the or his father was had a weed plantation underground somewhere in the estate there. But he does this very, very. There are several lines he delivers as a very Bondian manner of kind of this kind of nonchalance, and because he's Greek in real life, he has that otherness that I talked about earlier. That he could be an orphan. He could have that that outsider thing, and he's able to do posh without overdoing it, which is a real difficulty, I think, because it's easy to do to imitate a posh accent, but it's one thing to actually have those kind of mannerisms without overplaying it. And I think he does an amazing job in The Gentleman. And as soon as I saw the first episode, and I was like, that guy should be Bond. So that's my pick.
There's an interesting notion in the comment from My Watch channel.
Oh, sorry. The Rock was Connery's. Nice.
Yeah, he basically played Bond.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah.
If he'd gotten captured by the Americans.
Nice.
Got one more super chat, Barry, about the Breitling.
Just need a metal piece to go over the Brighton. Yeah. I'm sure somebody will mod and do something.
There's someone made the backing for the No Time to Die. So in the film he gets turned into the electromagnet thing. Very good. I mean, I was deeply disappointed with that watching that film, because I bought the watch long before the film came out, and I went to great pains to get the one with the Mark I bracelet, because that's what was in the film, and you barely see it. It's hardly used at all. And I thought, well, for nigh on 10 grand,
wow,
I'm a bit miffed, frankly. And all the shots of it as well were kind of like out of focus, because it's shot anamorphic, right? So anytime anything's in the top or the bottom of the screen, it's blurry. And I was like, nah. This is ridiculous. But someone made the little cup that you could stick on the back of it, so you had the little buttons.
Right.
To do
Can I ask, is that the first time they brought the watch out before the movie, or is that a standard thing they do?
Bearing in mind that it was only from Spectre that they actually had a limited edition watch or a special edition watch in the film. So it was only those two movies, but I know the Spectre came out before the film, and I think the thing with the No Time to Die was they released it intending for it to be a couple of months ahead of the film, and then of course the film got delayed for like a year and a half, so they had to keep going. They've had to keep making that watch because they promised to keep doing it.
Or you sold it?
No, I got rid of it. Yeah, no, I got rid.
How do you
I
feel
wasn't
about
wearing it anymore. It was a great watch, but I mean, like the bracelet. On paper, you go, a millionaire's bracelet. Oh, it's but because of the clasp, and it's that Omega are wedded to that idea that you bring the loose end or the strap end, if you like, under the clasp, not over it, which means it has to. When it's metal, it sort of forms this sort of sandwich of titanium under your wrist. That's just
right.
and then it makes it go solid in a really awkward shape, and it just wasn't. Yeah, it's not great. But it was a good. I mean, it was a lovely watch, but it just wasn't. I think the idea was supposed to be that it was kind of a worn, beaten Seamaster, like some sort of military issue Seamaster that he'd had, and he'd slung it on some mesh bracelet because that, and it is a cool look. But
it is a cool look. It's interesting. He kind of created a bit of a trend with that because that wasn't really trending at the time, and it is a good look with the diver. I really like it.
I like the fact that he helped design it because he didn't want it to stand out. He didn't want it to be the Pierce Brosnan Omega Seamaster blingy blingy. He wanted it to be the subtle, under the radar, sort of camouflagey type.
But my problem with it is it's the same thing with the Spectre, and one of the things I love about it, everything is trying to come back to this, right? It's all this. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm loving this No Time to Die thing, but it's trying to look like a tropical dial 5513, isn't it? I mean, isn't that what we're trying to aim for? So I just thought, I'll just get that. So,
Are you happy with that, Duncan?
Oh yeah, no, I love it, and I love the fact that it's not, it's been redialed by Rolex. It's not it's not got the provenance. I think it's got a what's the brace? It's a 93150 bracelet. So it's off the 14060, the bracelet. So it's had a new bracelet. It's got a Swiss only dial with Luminova on it. So it's not got the problem, but that means I can wear it and not care about chunks of tritium falling off and whatever. It's brilliant.
That's what stopped me buying that 5513. As gorgeous as it was, I'd end up babying it, and I'm kind of leaning back towards Omega. Actually, I'll shut up because that's for a future video. But I think we should wrap it up there, gentlemen. I can't believe we've done 2 hours of talking about Bond. I feel like we could go on, but thank you so much, everyone, for turning up and sharing your favorite Bonds.
Welcome.
I never heard whether I was able to convince you guys that Moneypenny is a villain. You listened politely, you laughed a little bit, but can I get a thumbs up on Moneypenny? Thumbs up or thumbs down, whether or not you think she's a villain? Come on.
Well, from me, from us,
all three of you lot in the comments as well. She's clearly a villain.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Naomi Harris. She was very nice to me, so I can't.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
A sweet lady. Yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna say yes because it kind of makes sense. Because technically, she's a woman scorned. Is that the correct?
A woman ignored. She's ignored.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. You get a thumbs up from me for that.
All right. Yeah. No. To your point, Duncan, Naomi is absolutely epic. If I was ever in a position to date her, I would definitely ask her to talk in Calypso voice whenever it was date.
My only beef with her, funnily enough, as an actor, is that because she's in a film called After the Sunset with Pierce Brosnan, funnily enough, which was shot and set in the Bahamas, which is where I'm from, and she does a Jamaican accent. Which is not good. A Bahamian accent. No, that's not how they talk there. There is a difference. It's a bit like sort of doing, I don't know, a Welsh accent as an Irishman or something. It's just sort of not. No.
Kind of like the Untouchables.
Yeah, yes.
There we go.
That's right. They bring a knife, you bring a gun. Chicago way.
The Chicago way, yeah. Nice. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Everyone watching, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video. It really does help. Subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will hopefully catch you in another one soon.
Thanks, guys. It was a great pleasure working with you on this today. Great work, you guys.
Nice.
Thanks,
Onwards and
Thank
upwards. Ciao,
Grazie.
ciao, ciao.
Peace.